We got
Alrighty.
Jonathan. How you doing, man? Welcome.
Hi guys, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of
Very
course.
excited to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I was checking out your platform, actually not the website, but just Twitter before we came on. It's kind of interesting. It looks like you're making a launch pad for athletes, sort of like leaning into the creator capital market situation. We want to get all into that. Let's hear first about yourself, John. What's your background?
Yeah, so yeah, quick intro. So my background is business and sports. So I studied business. I've been in the tech ecosystem over the last 13 years. So I started my first company 2012, very early in the employee loyalty space, and then sold the company after 7 years, end of 2019. Then started angel investing, my own money into tech. Through investing, I got into crypto. So I was an early investor in a company called Sorare, which was pretty popular, or is still popular in the NFT fantasy football world. And yeah, then I was 2 years just like full-time angel investing, investing into companies and investing into venture capital funds. I'm also an indirect investor of Pump because I'm an LP in Six Man Ventures. So that's how I saw, Pump, developing pretty early, 15 months ago. And then after 2 years full-time angel investing, for me it was at one point boring, right? So I felt like there's still energy, the life can't be over. So I decided to turn my passion, which has been always sports and technology, and then obviously with investing crypto technology in particular, into new business, and yeah, started Fantium 3 years ago.
Cool. That sounds like a pretty awesome background. You got some good investments under your belt there.
Yeah, and Six Man Ventures is a solid fund for sure.
100%. So yeah, probably one of my better ones, and yeah, I would say quite lucky with that one. And yeah, I mean, the trick obviously with investing is, especially tech investing, is you need to diversify, right? So as long as you have a specific number under your belt, and you also have these winners. And Six Man Ventures is obviously one of the sophisticated investors, I would say, in the crypto world. And yeah, what they have done obviously with Pump, betting on Pump so early pre-revenue 15 months ago. Yeah, Mike is an incredible guy, so very
What
grateful
can
to
you,
be part of it.
I don't know if it's public or not, but what was the valuation that you guys got into that at?
even, even if I knew, I wouldn't be allowed to share. So obviously that's like very confidential
Yeah,
information.
but
But
15 months ago, that was like that
You
would have
said
been when
pre-rev.
Pump was like pre kind of understanding what this is worth. So like we're probably talking like dozens of millions of dollars, I would assume.
yeah, that's a pre-revenue, right? So I think that's like public information, right? And
Yeah.
I'm also sure that it's public that actually a lot of people looked at it and didn't do it. So back then it took
Really?
a bit of courage. I mean, I wasn't involved at all. I'm like a very small LP, right? I'm just enjoying the ride. Or like full credits to Six Man Ventures, to Mike
Wow.
and the team to that investment.
Well, okay, so clearly you got a knack for finding early projects, early narratives. Tell us about FANTC. Looks like you're doing the same thing there, or Phantom. Yeah, fill us in.
Yeah, so Fantium, I started 3 years ago. So it's basically a platform for tokenized sports assets. So we enable athletes, clubs, teams to tokenize their assets, and these assets can be tokenized equity, tokenized future revenue streams, tokenized bonds, and we enable them to make these investable. It's obviously a heavily regulated product. It's based in Switzerland. Like you can't use it from like every jurisdiction. But we launched it for tennis players initially because in tennis there's a big financing gap, right? Even for the best junior players in the world. Like if you take a look at Carlos Alcaraz, like a couple of years ago, even he needed financing, and it takes like 500,000 up to 1 million, yeah, to finance such a tennis career. And tennis players don't have good options to raise that money, so they have to kind of engage with like very shady deals and And that's something like we felt can be changed also using blockchain as a technology layer. We launched it for tennis players. We have
And
some.
Jonathan, let me touch on that real quick. What's
Yeah.
the reason they need so much financing? Is it for flights, travel, spot? Like, help me understand.
Yeah, there are different cost buckets. So the biggest one is definitely coaching and traveling. The financing costs go up as you develop. So if you are very young, it's not that relevant because you can play local tournaments. But then at one point you need to have your own coach. You need to have your travel coach, and then also depends a little bit on the jurisdiction and the federation how much support you can get. The main bucket is definitely it's coaching. It's a team. So it's not only at one point. It's not only your coach. You have a physio with you as well, and traveling, it's a pretty so to say nasty industry, because these upcoming tennis players, they don't have good access to capital, right? So even the ones who are managed by some of the best talent agencies in the world, and we work together with all of them or almost all of them, they have this need for money, and that's something we then tried to help with or to solve with FANTC. So how it works is that we work together with agencies, with coaches, with the players directly. So they come to us if they have a need in financing, and then they can raise money, 25,000 up to 150,000 per year. Every player gets evaluated by us and tennis experts we have developed over the last 3 years. So they come up with a projection on what's likely the development going to be for that player. That's obviously still subjectively. But
when you say what's likely development in terms of how much they'll improve from a skill set standpoint or win in like tournaments, and
it's usually a ranking projection, right? So, and this ranking projection is something like between top 50 and top 150 world ranking, so ATP or WTA. So that's the range we are in. As earlier you are as a player, obviously, as more difficult it is to come up with that projection. If you just finished maybe college tennis and you are now kind of starting on the tour, it's a little bit easier, because there are less unknown factors to factor in. That's the projection, and then based on that projection, let's say if it's top 50, right, the terms are defined, and the goal is always for you as an investor, if you basically buy a token of that player, the token represents a prize money stake that over the years you make 30% IRR, so 4 to 5x MOIC, multiple on your invested capital from that investment. So it's a very long-term investment, but the payback then always starts the year when the player finishes 150 ATP or WTA. So once the player breaks into 150 ATP or WTA, you start participating in their prize money on a yearly basis.
That's really interesting. And so you get a cut of the prize money these players make?
Exactly. So it's something, it always depends on the amount of the player raises or is looking to raise. It depends on the valuation, etc. But it's something between 2 up to 10%. And the payback starts, and that's very important. The payback starts only if the player becomes successful, which is defined making it into the top 150, right? So you don't need to kind of estimate when the player breaks through. But once a player breaks through, you start participating. So it's very similar to venture investing.
What about other, so not only tournament earnings, but a lot of players, I think, make money through brand deals and whatnot. Do investors get access to those revenue streams, or is it just purely winnings?
Yeah, we have a few players who also include other earnings as well. We don't usually push for it, because we feel like it's even more volatile and it's less predictable, and it's also not public information. So the advantage with prize money, it's like highly predictable. Like once you know how to evaluate players, once you also start diversify your portfolio, like with startup investings, right? So once you hit that number, you can actually earn a decent return, and then with the prize money, it's public data. You can look it up on the ATP or WTA official site. So that makes it kind of more suitable from an investment perspective than endorsement deals or other earnings.
This is really interesting. This is when you think of creator capital market, this is much more the direction I think we should be headed rather than a meme token tied to a person, something that actually represents their growth and success. I think is a really interesting concept. There are a couple sports you could do this for, right? Obviously, tennis is a high expense one. You have something like NASCAR, which is very gated to get into. Like, what are some sports you guys are targeting? Is it strictly tennis?
Yeah, so with FANTC, we're targeting all sorts of sports, right? And we're gonna, launch also the first clubs and teams, where you can also invest in, revenue shares, tokenized equity, etc. With the individual sports, obviously there's tennis, there's golf, which is pretty similar to tennis. There's MMA, which is pretty interesting as well. Poker staking is also a big topic. So far, the focus is still with individual players on the tennis side, but we're looking to also expand to other categories, so to say, but also other sports as well.
Can I ask a quick tangential question, Dom? Sorry, I just want to talk about like what the success rate is of this, because it feels to me like 1 in 10 athletes really like make any money in sport. What is your take on kind of the probabilities of actually getting a return?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and it always depends on the profile. As earlier you are, as more risky it is for you as an investor. But for the more developed players, it's actually pretty predictable. Yeah, so if you take, let's say, college tennis players, I can show you one example of one player.
Yes, please. Feel free to share your screen, actually, if you want to walk us through.
And when you say really predictable, would you even say more predictable than maybe even venture capital investing, like a typical venture capital?
So can you see my screen?
Yeah, you're on.
Yes, yeah. So venture capital, obviously, it's different because the investments are already diversified. So I would say if you invest in a certain number of players, you can have the same kind of diversification effect as well. But here, like if you obviously invest, let's say in this guy Tristan Boyer, we launched him I think 2 years ago. He was just finishing college tennis, right? So he's a player from the US. At the time when we launched him, he was probably 300, 400 in ATP in the world. He just graduated from Stanford. He played college tennis there. So, and in his case, it was pretty predictable. It was pretty clear because he was some of the best junior player as well when he was playing juniors, that he would actually eventually make it. And he was raising 110,000 in return for 6.5% of his prize money. Here you can see always the payback structure. So it's top 150 start, and then it's for 6 years. This is the earnings threshold. So this is the amount of prize money he needs to earn so that you become profitable as an investor. And then we also always provide these like return calculators, right, where you can actually play around with yourself. You can have different ranking projections, and then they feed it back into the MOIC and the IRR you're gonna get.
Man, this is super interesting for sports lovers. Like, imagine if you could, as a sports lover, get a piece of your favorite player and like literally invest in their upside. I think that's super cool.
It's almost like a verse like betting on them every week. It's like you just have a long-term running bet. Do you mind zooming in on those numbers? Like, can we dive into those numbers a little
these ones here
that you had in that? The ones you had in your spreadsheet there. I don't know if these are projections you can share.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Even zooming in more, as much as you can zoom it in. I'm just trying to see what these numbers are. Yes. Okay, yeah.
Category.
So this is based on a $10,000 investment. It assumes a 7% price pool increase every year, which is the average over the last 7 years. And then here you can see the projections of paybacks. So for 10,000 investments, you can return $47,000, close to 5x, if the player develops like a regular top 50 player. If Tristan reaches top 50 in the end, then this would mean that he would have earned around 2.2 million. in the last year. Yeah, and so in total you invest 10,000 and then you get a return of 47,000.
So do me a favor. Let's look at some conservative estimates. Let's say he just breaks into 150 and he holds that 150 through 2030 till the end of the investment. Can we see what the returns would look like there?
Yes. You can just say if he's top 50, top 150, top 150, top 150. Then you would around 11%. You would have 11% IRR, so 1.x on your investment. You have to take into account this in his case, obviously, like he launched 2 years ago. He's already in the paybacks, so this year is the second year he's paying back his investors. So he's 120 currently. He has earned this year already over $500,000 in prize money. So that's how his trajectory has been. And then in this case, he's giving away 6.5% of his prize money. He's paying out to his investors.
Okay. This is super interesting. I want to dig much more into this because I love this direction, but we're running out of time here. Tell us a little bit about the FANTC token and how this maybe benefits from everything we're seeing here.
Yes. So a quick backstory. So on the FANTC token. So what we did with the Phantom was we launched our own launchpad 2 weeks ago. So because we felt like actually, ICM, Internet Capital Markets, I've been a big fan. I've been obviously following the space of Pump, but I felt like there needs to be something different for the sports world, which is much more prediction market also related, which kind of attracts also, the fan communities in a different way. So there's like a different feature set for athlete clubs teams. So we launched our own FanStrike, launchpad FanStrike. And then as one of our first tokens, we also launched a tennis dedicated token called FANTC. So the official Phantom tennis coin, which, is obviously a very important coin also for the launchpad. And how it's structured is that we're using the coin creator fees we are earning to invest these coin creator fees into selected tennis players on the platform, which are recommended by our tennis experts and scouts. And then the prize money we return back over time, we are using for buybacks. So it's deflationary and it's a pretty clean, so to say, use case. So you can kind of consider it a little bit like a tennis indexed coin, where the return of the investment and the success of the investments are used for buybacks and have a deflational component. And on top of that, obviously, we conducting token holder voting, so you can actually also steer the directions we are going with this. You get ticket access, to the tournaments where, because of the investments we make into these tennis players, we always get access to their tickets as well. And so it has this like both, right? On the one side, financial or kind of tennis investment related side, but then also emotional side where you can actually enjoy like perks connected to that token.
Interesting. That all sounds super cool. We might actually have a few extra minutes because we're waiting on our next one to join. But yeah, that's super interesting. Josh, you got any more questions?
Yeah, just like I like this vertical. I really do. We saw in the NFT days that people were doing things like issuing NFTs. Athletes were to have a stake, and it was the first time something like that was tradable. I guess in the future, there are entire agencies that do this type of work now, and basically that's your business is disrupting those sports agencies that are backing athletes and then getting this prize money today. Like that's the focus, right? So this business already works. We know that. So it's not a question of the business working. It's just a matter of you guys going and doing deals with athletes directly and cutting out the agencies, right?
So actually we're working together with the agencies. So
you're providing them capital.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And they're bringing you talent. Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because an agency is traditionally, it's not a bank, so they don't see themselves as like a financing partner where they take the risk whatsoever, right? So their business, their main business is like finding the next Alcaraz and negotiating the $100 million Nike deal for them.
Got it.
At the same time, they're obviously backing many young upcoming players, some of the best junior players in the world, and there is this like financing gap. So that's why they are pretty, so to say, happy that a platform like FANTC exists. And we work with some of the biggest ones.
Sorry, maybe one last question, because when you invest in a private company, you're investing in a corporation and you're on a cap table. In this case, like, is it just like some LOI you have with the athlete that they're going to share the returns? Like, what's the legally binding element that an athlete will actually share their money?
Yeah, great question. So it's actually, you enter into a legally binding agreement with the player directly. So in this case, if we do the investment via FANTC, it's us as FANTC and us as Fantium, which engages with the player. But it's a legal binding agreement with the player. And actually, in case when a player doesn't pay back, we as Fantium step in as kind of, we take on this like role as a kind of debt collector. And enforce the payments and make sure that everybody gets paid their respective amount. So that's how it works. But it's not an LOI, so to say. It's pretty decent, so to say. Legal agreement. And we have very sophisticated investors also on the platform. Family offices, private investors who are using us to back and to get into that asset class.
It sounds like this operation you're running is super top of the line. You got like some of the best people working on you with this. I guess my last question, because we do have our next guest blocks or grid here. But my last question to you would be, forward looking, why do you think you're best positions to execute this? And maybe give us an idea of your roadmap, what's to come, what you're most excited for.
Yeah, no, super happy to. So I think, in the sports world, there's a lot of trust needed. So you can't build this like anon company, right? Building something cool, but being also like anonymous. So, and we are in a very good position because obviously of our investor network, right? So we have some of the best agents, agencies, professional tennis players like Dominic Thiem, ex-former players on the cap table. So we have this trust in the sports world. We have been around for 3 years, not only in tennis, but also in other sports. But at the same time, we have this crypto angle, right? So we are crypto enough, so to say, to also kind of be appealing also on the crypto side of things. And that's kind of the secret sauce, when you want to combine these two markets all together. What's next is obviously like we're gonna push our own launchpad FanStrike. So we're gonna onboard here other teams, other clubs who are looking to launch their own on-chain currency through fair launches, specifically with like a sport-specific feature set. So that's on Fantium FanStrike side, and then for FANTC, obviously, like everything has been organic, right? So we were surprised by the success we had. So we launched it. We didn't expect much, and then there was immediately a lot of traction. And now we're looking to kind of roll out marketing, do content partnerships, use our investor we have on the cap table to get the word out, but then also approach professional investors, because we believe this like indexed tennis coin, is also something unique and which has never existed before. And so that will help us to kind of
do this for pickleball. Any pickleball?
Yeah, we put it on the roadmap, so it's not
okay. I feel like that's the narrative. The narrative is everything these days. The normies love pickleball.
I play pickleball.
Yeah,
I know that.
There's no financial upside yet, but obviously that can change. And so maybe
fair enough. Jonathan, this is very fascinating. I'm curious to look into this some more, but that's your time. Thanks for coming on and getting us interested.